If you are here today, it's because something deep within your heart is asking for understanding. Perhaps you are a father or a mother who looks at your adult child and feels a void, a distance that seems insurmountable. Perhaps you ask yourself, where did I go wrong? Why doesn't my child value me? This is one of the most silent pains a human being can carry, the feeling that we have dedicated our entire lives to someone who now seems to see us as invisible. Napoleon Hill, the great master of transformative thinking, taught us that everything in life begins with our mental patterns. And when it comes to family relationships, especially with adult children, there is a profound truth that few dare to recognize. Sometimes the way we see ourselves and position ourselves in the world determines how others see us, including our own children. But before we dive into this journey of discovery, I want you to know something fundamental. You are not alone in this experience. Millions of parents around the world face this same situation. The difference between those who remain stuck in this cycle of pain and those who manage to completely transform the family dynamic lies in the willingness to look within, to question not only the child's behavior, but also our own internal patterns. What you are about to discover may seem revolutionary, but in reality, they are timeless principles that Hill applied to all areas of human life. When we understand that our relationships are mirrors of our internal states, we begin to realize that we have much more power to create change than we ever imagined. Your child doesn't value you. Let's discover together the hidden secrets behind this dynamic, and more importantly, how you can change everything, starting from the inside out. Napoleon Hill always said, "You become what you think about most of the time." And when we apply this principle to family relationships, a powerful truth emerges. The way our children treat us is often a direct reflection of how we see and value ourselves. Stop for a moment and observe yourself. How do you talk about yourself? How do you treat yourself day to day? Do you forgive yourself for past mistakes, or do you live eternally blaming yourself for not having been the perfect father or mother? These questions may seem uncomfortable, but they are fundamental to understanding the invisible dynamic that governs our relationships. Many parents carry a silent guilt about their past choices. I worked too much. I wasn't present enough. I should have been stricter or more flexible. This guilt, when not properly processed, creates an energetic pattern of low self-esteem that our children unconsciously pick up on and reflect back to us. Hill taught us that everything in the universe operates through vibration and energy. When we radiate insecurity, guilt, or self-deprecation, we are literally sending a signal to the world that we do not deserve to be treated with respect and consideration. Our children, even as adults, continue to be extremely sensitive antennas to our emotional energy. The good news is that this same principle works in reverse. When we begin to cultivate a healthy relationship with ourselves, when we stop diminishing ourselves and start to recognize our intrinsic value as human beings and as parents, something magical happens. The world around us, including our children, begins to see us through different eyes. But be careful. This doesn't mean we should become arrogant or demand special treatment. It means we need to find that point of balance where we acknowledge our past mistakes without torturing ourselves for them, where we honor our journey as imperfect parents who did the best we could with the resources we had at the time. There is a devastating pattern that many parents develop without realizing it: emotional dependence on their children's approval. It's a vicious cycle where our self-esteem and sense of self-worth become conditioned by the recognition and affection we receive from them. Napoleon Hill would call this an emotional poverty mentality, a state where we expect our happiness to come from external sources. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, if only my child would call me more, if only he would recognize everything I did for him? Why doesn't he show gratitude? These thoughts, while natural, reveal a dangerous reversal in the emotional power dynamic. We are placing our well-being in the hands of another person, even if that person is our own child. What happens when we operate from this mindset is that we begin to radiate an energy of neediness, of lack. And there is a universal law that Hill knew very well: that which we need the most tends to move away from us. When our children feel that we emotionally depend on them to feel whole, they unconsciously begin to distance themselves. Think of the dynamic between a magnet and another metallic object. When the magnet is desperate to attract, it loses its natural magnetic force. Similarly, when we are desperate for our children's attention and recognition, we lose our natural ability to inspire respect and admiration. The real transformation begins when we understand that our value as a person does not depend on the behavior of others, not even our children. We are complete beings, with a journey rich in experiences, learning, and growth. Our role as parents was an important part of this journey, but it does not define our complete identity. When we begin to cultivate an internal source of satisfaction and self-worth, something extraordinary happens. We become less needy and more magnetic. Our children, upon realizing that we don't need them to feel good, paradoxically begin to feel more drawn to our presence. It's the law of attraction working in its purest form. One of the most profound lessons Napoleon Hill left us was about the power of conscious detachment. In the context of family relationships, this means something revolutionary: loving our children without trying to control them, supporting them without becoming dependent on their reciprocity, being available without becoming invasive. Many parents confuse love with possessiveness. We think we are showing love when we call incessantly, when we demand visits, when we constantly remind them of the sacrifices we made. But in reality, this behavior reveals fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of not being important, fear that our relevance in our child's life will diminish over time. Conscious detachment does not mean coldness or indifference. It means loving in a higher, more mature way. It means recognizing that our children are independent beings with their own journeys, challenges, and priorities. It means trusting that the love we planted over all these years has created deep roots, even when we can't see the fruits on the surface. Imagine a tree that holds onto its leaves so tightly that it prevents the wind from circulating among them. Eventually, that tree would get sick from the lack of natural flow. In the same way, when we hold on to our adult children with too much emotional intensity, we impede the natural flow of the relationship. They feel the pressure and instinctively create distance to be able to breathe. Hill knew that true strength comes from the ability to be whole in and of oneself. When we cultivate our own interests, relationships, projects, and dreams, we become more interesting and inspiring people to be around. Our children begin to see us not just as father or mother, but as a complete human being with their own rich and meaningful life. The paradox of detachment is that the less we need something, the more easily it flows in our direction. When we stop desperately pursuing our children's attention and start focusing on our own fulfillment, we create a natural magnetic field that draws them back to us, but now out of genuine choice, not out of obligation or guilt. One of the biggest traps that prevent parents from having healthy relationships with their adult children is being imprisoned by the past. If I knew then what I know today, I should have done things differently. I failed as a father, mother. These thoughts create an energetic field of guilt and self-condemnation that contaminates all present interactions. Napoleon Hill taught us that we cannot change the past, but we can completely transform how we relate to it. Every experience we've had, every mistake we've made, every moment we didn't live up to our own expectations, are in fact essential steps on our journey of evolution as human beings. Stop and reflect. Would you be the wise and experienced person you are today without having gone through all those moments? Would your children have learned resilience, independence, and strength if you had always been the perfect parent? Sometimes, our supposed mistakes were exactly what our children needed to develop their own capabilities. What happens when we carry guilt is that we unconsciously apologize for existing. We speak to our children from a position of inferiority, as if we owe them something. This energy of emotional debt creates an imbalance that can cause them to treat us with less respect, not out of malice, but because they pick up on our own lack of self-worth. The real transformation happens when we can integrate our complete history with love and acceptance. When we look at our past as parents and can say, I did the best I could with the resources I had at the time. I made mistakes, learned lessons, and evolved. Today I am a wiser person because of this entire journey. This change in perspective is not just psychological, it is energetic. When we stop diminishing ourselves for the past and start honoring ourselves as warriors who faced challenges and grew through them, we radiate a natural dignity that our children cannot ignore. They begin to see us not as imperfect parents asking for forgiveness, but as courageous human beings who have lived intensely and have wisdom to share. One of Napoleon Hill's most revolutionary discoveries was understanding that true communication happens far beyond words. When we talk to our adult children, it's not just what we say that matters, but primarily the emotional energy we carry as we speak. And here is a secret that few parents know. Our children respond much more to what we feel than to what we say. How many times have you had conversations with your child where the words were correct, but something in the tone, posture, or underlying intention created distance? Perhaps you were talking about the weather, but energetically you were demanding attention. Perhaps you were asking about their job, but subconsciously you were seeking validation for your role as a parent. Transformative communication begins with a fundamental shift in intention. Instead of speaking to receive something, attention, gratitude, recognition, we begin to speak to offer something, genuine support, sincere interest, loving presence. This reversal is subtle, but it creates an energetic difference that our children feel immediately. Hill taught us that all effective communication is based on finding a common frequency. With adult children, this means stepping out of the role of the parent who knows everything and into the role of the human being who genuinely cares. It means asking questions, not to judge the answers, but out of authentic curiosity about their lives. It means sharing our own vulnerabilities and challenges, showing that we are real people, not just authority figures from the past. One of the most powerful ways to transform communication is through what we can call magnetic listening. This means listening not just to reply, but to truly understand your child's inner world. When they realize that you are genuinely present, with no hidden agenda, without judgment, something opens up in their heart. The magic happens when our children feel that they can be completely authentic with us, that they don't need to perform the role of the good child or defend their choices. When we create this sacred space of unconditional acceptance, they naturally begin to draw closer, because they find in us something rare in the world, a place where they can simply be themselves. One of the most destructive patterns that many parents develop is the total loss of their own identity in the parental role. For decades, you were Maria's dad or John's mum, and when they became independent adults, a part of you was lost, not knowing who you are beyond that function. Napoleon Hill knew that our identity can never depend exclusively on one role, no matter how important it is. The truth is, you existed before your children, and you will continue to exist long after the phase of active parenting. You have unique talents, dormant dreams, and untapped potential that were put on the back burner during the intense years of parenthood. And here is something profound. When your children see you only as father or mother, they also limit the way they relate to you. Imagine if you met a fascinating person today, with interesting hobbies, exciting projects, and captivating stories to tell. You would naturally feel drawn to spend more time with that person, wouldn't you? Your children are the same. When you become a whole and interesting person again, they begin to desire your company not out of family obligation, but out of genuine pleasure. Hill always emphasized the importance of having a definite purpose for living. During the years of raising children, that purpose was clear: to care for, protect, and educate. But now, what is your new definite purpose? What projects make your eyes sparkle? What learning would you like to pursue? What contributions can you make to the world? When you start investing in yourself again, whether it's by learning something new, developing talents, creating projects, or building diverse relationships, something magical happens. You become magnetic not only to your children, but to life as a whole. Your children start to see you with new eyes, not as someone who lives for them, but as an inspiring human being who chooses to share their life with them. Reconnecting with your full identity is not selfishness, it's a necessity. Your children need to see that it's possible to age with dignity, purpose, and vitality. They need a role model for how to live a rich and meaningful life in all its phases. When you embrace your own journey of growth, you give them the greatest gift, the permission to be equally whole and authentic. Napoleon Hill discovered something revolutionary about the human mind. What we focus on expands in our reality. If you spend most of your time thinking about what your child doesn't do, the calls they don't make, the visits that don't happen, you are literally programming your mind to see more and more evidence of this lack. But there is a powerful tool that can completely reverse this dynamic: strategic gratitude. Strategic gratitude is not just about being thankful for the obvious things. It's about training your mind to recognize and value every small gesture, every moment of connection, every sign that the love between you still exists, even if it manifests in different ways than you expected. It's celebrating a quick text message with the same intensity you would a long visit. When you change your internal focus, something extraordinary happens. You begin to radiate a different energy. Instead of emanating neediness and demands, you start to emanate abundance and appreciation. Your children feel this energetic shift, even from a distance. They begin to realize that being with you is a pleasant experience, not a minefield of unmet expectations. Hill taught us that our emotional energy is contagious. When you genuinely appreciate the small moments of connection with your child, they feel it and unconsciously want to create more of those moments. It's as if you are watering the right seeds in the garden of your relationship, causing them to grow naturally. But be careful. Strategic gratitude needs to be authentic, not manipulative. It's not about pretending to be satisfied when you're not, nor about using gratitude as a strategy to get more attention. It's about training your perception to recognize the real love that already exists, even when it doesn't manifest in the way you idealized. Practice this exercise. Before you go to sleep, identify 3 things you are grateful for regarding your child today. It could be something they did, something they are, or simply the fact that they exist and are well. This simple habit will begin to reprogram your mind to see abundance where you once only saw scarcity. There is a fundamental difference between being respected out of fear or obligation and being respected out of genuine inspiration. Napoleon Hill observed that the most magnetic people in the world do not demand attention. They attract it naturally through the quality of their presence and the richness of their inner world. As parents, we can apply this same principle to become people our adult children genuinely want to be around. Natural magnetism is born when you become someone interesting to be with. This doesn't mean you need to be perfect or extraordinary. It means you cultivate qualities that naturally attract people: curiosity about life, genuine interest in others, the ability to find joy in small things, wisdom shared with humility, and an authentic presence in moments of connection. Think about the people you most enjoy spending time with. They are probably the ones who make you feel good about yourself, who have interesting stories to tell, who show genuine interest in your life, and who radiate a positive and welcoming energy. You can become that person for your child. One of the most powerful ways to develop magnetism is through what Hill called a constantly growing mind. When your children see that you continue to learn, evolve, and discover new things about yourself and the world, they begin to see you as a source of inspiration, not just as a figure from the past. Perhaps you can learn a new skill, explore a hobby that has always interested you, get involved in causes that touch your heart, or simply cultivate a more philosophical and profound perspective on life. When you have your own passions and a rich worldview, conversations with you become naturally more interesting and enriching. The secret is to do this for yourself, not to impress your child. When you genuinely invest in your personal growth because it brings you joy and purpose, your energy becomes authentic and magnetic. Your children can feel the difference between someone who is trying to get attention and someone who is living fully, and they are naturally drawn to the latter. Remember, you are not competing for your child's attention. You are becoming the best version of yourself, and this transformation creates a natural gravitational field that attracts not only your children, but all people who value authenticity and growth. We have now reached the moment of integration, where all the principles we have explored come together to create a truly lasting transformation. Napoleon Hill always emphasized that knowledge without application is useless. Now is the time to turn all this understanding into a new way of living and relating to your adult children. The journey we have taken together has revealed a fundamental truth. Our relationship with our children is a direct reflection of the relationship we have with ourselves. When you stop diminishing yourself for the past, when you cultivate your own fulfillment, when you communicate from a place of love instead of lack, when you become magnetic through personal growth, the entire family dynamic transforms. But here is something crucial that Hill always highlighted. Real change happens through consistent persistence, not through dramatic one-time transformations. This means that every day you will have the opportunity to choose between the old patterns and the new principles you have learned. Every interaction with your child will be a chance to practice transformative communication, conscious detachment, and strategic gratitude. There will be moments when you feel tempted to go back to old habits, demanding more attention, lamenting the past, communicating from a place of need. These moments are normal and are part of the process. What matters is your ability to recognize when this happens and gently redirect your energy toward the new patterns. Remember, you are not trying to control your child's behavior. You are taking full responsibility for the quality of your own presence in the world. When you become a whole, interesting, loving, and wise person, you create the ideal conditions for healthy relationships, but the specific outcome is beyond your control, and that is perfectly okay. The true victory is not when your child finally calls you more or visits you more often. The true victory is when you feel complete and happy, regardless of these external circumstances, knowing that you have offered your best and have become the person you always had the potential to be. Your children may or may not respond immediately to this new version of you, but one thing is certain: you will have planted seeds of love, wisdom, and authenticity that will continue to germinate in their hearts for the rest of their lives. And you, regardless of their response, will have reclaimed your dignity, your purpose, and your joy for living, and that in itself is worth the entire journey.